Hello everyone. It's your trusted Social Security attorney. If you're a senior, you must watch this entire video because what I'm about to share will not only shock you, it could affect your monthly check, your retirement security, and even your ability to plan for the future. Many older Americans are outraged, and some are calling this latest Social Security change nothing short of theft. Stick with me until the end because I'll explain exactly what's happening, who it impacts, and what you can do to protect yourself. But first, if you're here because you care about your retirement and want to stay ahead of these constant changes, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below with, "I'm paying attention." That way, I know you're one of the seniors who refuses to be blindsided. Part 1: The shocking change that sparked outrage. What has so many older Americans upset right now is something the Social Security Administration has been doing more frequently in recent years, reaching back and recalculating benefits that seniors have already been receiving. In government language, they call it overpayment recovery. But in plain English, it means this. You could be living off your Social Security benefits for months or even years, believing the amount you're getting is correct. Then suddenly a letter arrives in the mail telling you that you were overpaid and that you now owe the government money back. This could mean your monthly check is reduced, sometimes for years, until they recoup what they claim is an overpayment. In some cases, they even demand seniors write a lump sum repayment check, thousands of dollars that retirees simply don't have lying around. For example, I recently spoke with a couple in their late 70s who had been receiving survivor benefits. They budgeted carefully, lived modestly, and thought they were doing everything right. Then, out of nowhere, they received a notice saying they had been overpaid by nearly $18,000 due to a clerical error. The SSA told them unless they paid it back, their monthly checks would be slashed until the full balance was recovered. Imagine the panic. That's money they never even thought twice about spending because they trusted the numbers the government provided. And this isn't just a rare situation. Tens of thousands of seniors each year face these kinds of notices. Sometimes the issue is tied to earnings that were reported late or to small miscalculations in benefit formulas. Sometimes it's because someone switched from one type of benefit to another. Say from spousal benefits to retirement benefits, and the SSA made a mistake in the transition. But here's the bottom line. These are not mistakes made by the seniors themselves. They are mistakes buried inside a massive government system. And yet the burden falls on seniors to pay. That's why this feels like such a betrayal. Part 2: Why this feels like theft to older Americans. Let's be clear. Social Security is not charity. It's not a handout. It's your money. You worked for decades, paid into the system with every paycheck, and followed the rules. When those payroll taxes came out, you weren't given a choice. You contributed trusting that when you retired, the system would take care of you. So when seniors are told, "You owe us money back," the emotional reaction is not just frustration, it's outrage. To many, it feels like the government is stealing from them. Imagine if your bank told you, "We accidentally deposited too much in your account over the last 2 years, so we're going to take it back." Now you'd be furious, right? You'd feel like the trust was broken. That's exactly what's happening here. And the worst part is that this happens at the exact time in life when people are most vulnerable. When you're 70, 80, or even older, your ability to earn extra income is limited. You can't just pick up extra shifts, work overtime, or launch a new career. You are on a fixed income, and every single dollar counts. The stress of suddenly losing even $100 or $200 from a monthly check can mean the difference between filling a prescription or skipping it, between buying fresh groceries or relying on canned goods. I've heard countless seniors describe these situations in the same way. Feels like theft. Not because they don't understand the government's legal authority to correct mistakes, but because morally and practically it feels wrong to punish the retiree instead of fixing the system that caused the error in the first place. Think about it. Social Security is supposed to provide peace of mind. It's supposed to give you stability after a lifetime of work. But instead, many seniors are left feeling like they're living under a cloud of uncertainty, never knowing if tomorrow's check will really be theirs to keep. Part 3: How this change creeps up on retirees. One of the most frustrating parts about this issue is how it sneaks up on seniors. You don't get a polite phone call months in advance. You don't get a clear step-by-step explanation from the SSA. Instead, you get a letter, often written in confusing bureaucratic language, that suddenly tells you your benefits are changing. Imagine opening your mailbox and seeing an official government envelope. You sit down at your kitchen table, open the letter and read, "We have determined that you were overpaid in the amount of $6,732. Unless repaid, we will withhold your future benefits until the balance is satisfied." No warning, no clear explanation, just a statement that shakes your financial security to its core. Many seniors, when they get these notices, feel immediate panic. Some even think it's a scam at first, because who could believe the government would really demand this kind of repayment after years of faithfully issuing checks? But no, it's real. And here's another problem. The time frames are often incredibly short. You may have only 30 days to respond if you want to appeal or request a waiver. And if you don't understand the paperwork or you simply don't move fast enough, the reduction happens automatically. I can't tell you how many times seniors have come to me saying, "I didn't even know I could fight this until it was too late." The complexity of the notices is another barrier. They cite federal regulations, legal codes, and Social Security program operations manuals that are nearly impossible for the average person to decipher. Seniors are left scratching their heads, wondering, how did they come up with this number? What did I supposedly do wrong? And why is it my responsibility to fix their mistake? That's why I say this change creeps up on retirees. It's not just about the money. It's about the emotional toll. It's about the stress of not knowing if you can trust the very system you depended on your entire working life. And when the letters come late in life, sometimes to people in their 80s or even 90s, the sense of betrayal cuts even deeper. Part 4: The legal reality behind these adjustments. Now, let's really pull back the curtain on what's happening here from a legal perspective, because it's important you understand both the authority the Social Security Administration claims to have and the rights that you as a beneficiary still hold. Here's the truth. Under federal law, the SSA is legally permitted to go back and reclaim what they call overpayments. They justify it by saying the Social Security Trust Fund must be protected and that benefits must be distributed fairly according to the rules. In other words, they argue if someone was given more than they should have received, we have a duty to claw that money back so the system stays balanced. Now, on paper that sounds reasonable, but in practice, this creates enormous hardship. Why? Because these overpayments almost always occur due to government errors, misapplied formulas, misreported income data, or outdated computer systems. Not because seniors intentionally misled anyone. Yet, the burden of proof gets flipped around. Suddenly, it's not the SSA explaining why they made the mistake. It's the senior who has to prove they shouldn't be punished for it. Let me give you an example. I worked with a woman in her mid-70s who received a notice claiming she had been overpaid nearly $11,000 in spousal benefits. When we dug into it, we discovered the SSA had incorrectly factored in her late husband's earnings record. This was not her mistake. She filled out every form honestly, submitted every document, and trusted the agency to calculate properly. Yet, she was the one receiving threatening letters demanding repayment. And that's where the outrage comes in. Imagine if a private company, a pension plan or insurance carrier, sent you checks for years, then suddenly said, "Sorry, we made a mistake. Send the money back or we'll reduce your payments." Most people would call that a breach of contract. But because Social Security is backed by federal law, the agency can and does get away with it. Here's another legal wrinkle. Even if the error was entirely on the government's side, you as the beneficiary are still responsible unless you fight it. And fighting it means entering a complex appeals process that involves deadlines, specific forms, and often multiple rounds of reconsideration. The waiver process is another important piece. The law does allow seniors to request a waiver if they can show two things: that the overpayment wasn't their fault, that repaying would cause financial hardship. But here's where it gets tricky. The SSA doesn't go out of its way to tell you this. Many seniors assume they have no choice but to pay. Others try to navigate the waiver process on their own, only to give up because the paperwork is overwhelming. That's why so many seniors describe the system as one-sided. It's designed in a way that discourages you from fighting back even though the law gives you the right to do so. So yes, Technically, the SSA is operating within its authority, but legally correct does not mean morally fair. And that's the tension that fuels so much outrage. Seniors who gave decades of their lives contributing to Social Security now feel like the system is treating them as suspects rather than as people who earned and deserve those benefits. Part 5: What you can do if you're affected. Now, I don't want to just leave you angry or discouraged. The whole reason I make these videos is to give you practical tools, because knowledge is power, and seniors who act quickly and confidently often have a much better outcome. If you ever receive one of these dreaded letters, or if you know a friend, neighbor, or family member who does, here are the most important steps to take, broken down in plain English. Step 1: Don't ignore the letter. I know it's tempting to set it aside or hope it's a mistake that will resolve itself, but ignoring it only makes the situation worse. The SSA will move forward automatically unless you take action. You usually have just 30 days to respond. So, the clock starts ticking the moment you open that envelope. Step 2: File for reconsideration immediately. This is your official right to say, "I don't agree with this decision." The form is called SSA 561, and filing it puts the brakes on the adjustment process until your case is reviewed. Even if you're not sure yet what your argument will be, submitting the reconsideration buys you time. Step 3: Ask for a waiver. If the overpayment truly wasn't your fault, and in most cases it wasn't, you can file Form SSA 632 to request that the repayment be waived. The key here is showing that it would create financial hardship. This could mean proving that your monthly budget already leaves you with little to no disposable income, or that repaying would prevent you from paying essential expenses like rent, utilities, or medical bills. Step 4: Gather documentation. This is where you strengthen your case. Keep every single piece of correspondence you've received from the SSA. Collect bank statements, medical bills, and proof of income to demonstrate your financial situation. If you spoke with SSA representatives, write down the date, time, and what was said. Paper trails are powerful in appeals and waivers. Step 5: Seek professional help. Can't emphasize this enough. Don't try to carry this burden alone. There are Social Security attorneys and non-profit advocacy groups that specialize in these cases. Many work on a contingency basis, meaning they don't get paid unless they help you succeed. Having a professional on your side can mean the difference between losing thousands of dollars and protecting the benefits you depend on. Step 6: Stay persistent. Here's what most people don't realize. The SSA denies a large percentage of appeals at the first stage, but that doesn't mean you should give up. Many seniors win their cases at later stages, like an administrative law judge hearing. The system almost expects you to quit early, which is why persistence is such an advantage. And finally, don't be afraid to involve your elected representatives. Senators and members of Congress have staff dedicated to helping constituents with Social Security issues. I've seen cases where a single congressional inquiry pushed the SSA to re-examine a case they were otherwise ignoring. Here's the message I want you to take away. Yes, the situation feels unfair. Yes, the system is stacked against you, but you have rights. You have tools. And if you take action quickly, you can often prevent the worst outcomes. I've personally seen seniors go from thinking they'd lose half their monthly check to walking away with no repayment required simply because they knew the process stood their ground and refused to be intimidated. So, if you or someone you love gets one of these letters, don't panic and don't let fear paralyze you. Take these steps, fight back, and remember, Social Security is not a gift. It's your money and you have every right to defend.